Hi Coding One, Mr. Agnos here. In this video, I'm going to introduce you guys to the Khan Academy programming environment, show you how to get to a blank programming page, show you a little bit about how it works, and then introduce you to the first shape that you'll learn how to program, which is the ellipse. The ellipse is just a fancy name for an oval or a circle. Okay. So this page you're looking at right here is called my learner home, right? You'll see my username up here in the upper right hand corner. Your username should be the first part of your email address. Go ahead and change your username to your first name and then some number, all right? So if your first name is John, for example, there's probably a million other Johns on Khan Academy. So you can type John 4729832, or it's just some number. It probably doesn't have to be that long so that you can actually find a unique username. Make sure the number is school appropriate. You guys know what I mean. All right. To get to the computer programming section of Khan Academy, we're going to go up here in the upper left-hand corner, and we are going to click on Courses. And the course that we're looking for is computer programming, and it is right here in the computing section, and we want the first link, computer programming. All right, this is the main computer programming page for Khan Academy. It has a ton of stuff on it, right? This is a ton of material, believe it or not. In Coding 1, the material that we cover is, that was the wrong button, is in this section right here, Intro to JavaScript Drawing and Animation. Okay, so this is basically going to be 3/4 of our year will be spent in this section right here. So don't worry about the other tabs down below. Okay, if you want to find what I'm going to call a blank coding page, a programming page, a blank piece of paper, you're going to scroll all the way down, and here it says create new program, and it gives you 3 different types of programs to create. We want the JavaScript, right? In this class, we're going to learn JavaScript, so this is the button that you're going to push. This will give you a blank piece of paper to work on. So anytime I give you an assignment, where I say, okay, your project is to create a haunted house, and you're going to go and start from scratch and program a haunted house, then this is the button you're going to press. Okay, on the left-hand side, so this area right here, this is where you're going to type in the code, right? On the right-hand side, this area right here, this is where the computer is actually going to draw or do what you tell it to do. So code goes here on the left, and I'll just go ahead and type something in here, right? You're going to type your code in here, and then something will happen over here on the right. Okay, so I'm going to focus right now on the right-hand side, so I'll go ahead and highlight it. I'm going to focus on this side so we understand how this works. This is a 400 pixel by 400 pixel square. So up here in the upper left-hand corner, we have 0. Okay, so in math class, you might call this point the origin, right? It's the point where the x and y axis intersect. So this is going to be 0. And then if we move to the right, by the time we get to the end over here, the very end of the screen is 400. So I'll go ahead and write that in. So this is 400. So anytime we're typing, and this will make more sense once I actually start typing in some commands for shapes, but this is in the x direction, right? X is left and right on a coordinate plane. It goes from 0 to 400, and this is in the x direction. All right. The y direction starts here and goes down like this, and it also goes to 400. Now this is a little bit different than what you learned in math class. In math class, if the origin is here and I go down, this would be negative 400. But for some reason in this environment, it is reversed. So this is still a positive 400. And then every point inside this square can be identified by what's called a coordinate pair, right? So for example, the very middle of the screen, maybe right there somewhere, would be the point 200, 200, right? My x-coordinate is 200. I went to the right 200, and I went down 200. So that would be this point right here. The far right corner, bottom right corner, way over here, that would be the point 400, 400, right? I went all the way to the right 400 units, and I went down 400 units. So the more you work with this, the better you'll get at being able to place your points on the screen where you want them. In the beginning, you can, there's ways to what's called number scrub and move your shapes around sort of manually. But then as you get better and better at it, you'll actually be able to place them more accurately, so you have to do less number scrubbing. Okay, so that is sort of the general Khan Academy programming environment. I didn't go into a ton of detail there, but I can answer questions as they come up. All right, the first shape you guys are going to learn about is called the ellipse. An ellipse is just a fancy, the mathematical term for an oval or a circle. So the way I get an ellipse to appear on my screen is I type in ellipse, and then I put a parentheses. Now when I put that parentheses, it brings up this little black box, and what this box is telling me is that an ellipse takes 4 parameters. It takes an x-coordinate and a y-coordinate. And those x and y coordinates position the center of the ellipse. So again, I'm just gonna go ahead and make an ellipse. I'll center it at 200, 200. And then the W stands for the width of the ellipse, how wide it is, and the H stands for the height of the ellipse, how tall it is. So I'm gonna make this ellipse 300 units wide and 100 units tall. And then I have to close it off with the parentheses, and to tell the computer that I wanted to create this, I got to put in a semicolon. All right, so there is my ellipse. You guys can see it is an oval. All right, so let's look at the different parts of this ellipse. First off, the points, my x-coordinate of 200 and my y-coordinate of 200. Those are the coordinates of the center. So the center of this ellipse is somewhere right about there. And you can see that that's pretty much the middle of my screen, right? I went to the right 200 units, and I went down 200 units. And there's my center, and then it draws the ellipse around that center. This ellipse is 300 units wide. That means from this side of the ellipse, I want blue. From this side of the ellipse through the center to the opposite side of the ellipse is 300 units wide, or pixels. So that's 300 units wide. And then our ellipse is 100 pixels tall. So that is this distance right here, from the top of the ellipse through the center to the bottom, right? That distance is 100 units, 100 pixels, sorry. So I can now change these numbers to change the look of my ellipse. So the first thing I can do is I can move this ellipse around by changing the coordinates. I can change this to a 300. Notice my ellipse moved to the right because I'm now going over 300 units and down 200 units. And I'll even draw that. So now I'm starting here. I'm going over 300 and down 200. So this is my 300 here, and this is now my 200. So I'm further to the right. If I wanted to move my ellipse to the left, I would use a smaller number than 300. So maybe I'll change this to 100, and now my ellipse moves to the left because I'm only going over 100 units and now down 200 units. Now you might notice that this whenever I click on a number, I'm getting this box right here. This is called a number scrubber, and rather than having to type in the numbers, this allows you to just, you see how that it creates that little arrow pointing left to right? If you click and hold, so you have to click and hold, and if I move it to the right, the ellipse moves to the right. I move it to the left, the ellipse moves to the left. So really, once you get your ellipse on the screen, number scrubbing is a much more effective way of moving it around. I can also number scrub it in the Y direction. So now I'm going to click on my Y coordinate. I get the same number scrubber box, and I can move it up, up, or down. And so maybe I want my ellipse to be up in this corner over here. I can move it up, and then I can number scrub on my X coordinate and move it over. And maybe this is like a fluffy cloud or something, or the beginnings of a fluffy cloud up in the sky. All right, let's take a look at the width and the height. This ellipse is really wide, so maybe I want a ellipse that is not so wide. So right now my width is 300. I'm going to shrink it and make it now real skinny. And maybe I want it really tall, so I'm going to go to the height, which is currently 100, and now I'm going to make the height 300 or 311, right? And so by using the width and the height, I can change the shape of my ellipse to make it whatever I want. If you want it to be a perfect circle, which a lot of times you do, then you have to make the width and the height the exact same number. So I'm going to go ahead and make the width 200, and I'm going to make the height 200. And you'll see that that will give you a perfect circle. Okay, so that is the ellipse. I'm going to go ahead and type another ellipse because I want to talk about the order in which you type things in. So I'll do 200, 200. So the center of this ellipse is going to be right in the middle of the screen, and I'll make it small, 50 pixels wide, 50 pixels tall, and there it is. So notice that the second ellipse gets drawn on top of the first. That's because the computer is going to draw things in the order that you type them, going down this direction. So it draws the first ellipse first, and then it draws the second ellipse second, and whatever is drawn second is going to get drawn on top of whatever is drawn first. This is really important because watch what happens if I switch the two. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to cut it, I'm going to move this one down, and I'm going to paste it. Notice you don't see anything. Well, this small ellipse is there. It's just getting drawn over by the bigger ellipse. So watch what happens when I make the Y coordinate bigger. There it is. You can see that it's actually hiding behind the bigger ellipse. So order definitely matters. Okay. That was a quick tutorial on the ellipse and on the basic environment. You're also going to have a Khan Academy video to watch on the ellipse, and then I will assign you a challenge where you're going to create a snowman out of ellipses. Please email or ask in the comments if you have any questions. Thanks so much, guys.